What is up, you lovely people, and welcome to Design Lies. In today's tutorial, we're going to talk about the texturing options in SketchUp and how to texture a model. So, let's begin. I'm just going to start out by deleting this guy, and we're going to draw a cube. And this cube is just going to be a short representation of how to texture in SketchUp. So in SketchUp, on the right hand side, you have like different materials. In this material options, you have the in model option, which is all the textures that's already applied to your model. Or if you're gonna apply textures later on, all of the models that appear in your viewport is gonna be in here. If you click on the materials, you get all the folders of the different materials, or you can just use this drop down menu here and see that you have different patterns. You have different roofing tiles, you have stone textures, and you have the colors. So if we're just going to use the colors to see how we texture this cube right here, let's choose this dark red color here. When you click on the color out here, you get this paint bucket tool. And this paint bucket tool, you can just click on different faces and it will paint this cube. Or if you have a face that is divided into two faces like this, you have a face out here and a face in here, you can paint these faces individually. If you want to replace a color in SketchUp or the texture, you can choose another color and you can just click on the faces and override it. You can also, if I go back here, if you press Shift and click on a color with a new chosen color, it will replace the color you shift click with. If we just go back to the white cube here, you will also see that if I have a color face like this and another face like this with another color, and I push this inwards, it will actually color the faces that's created from the pushing will have the same color as the face I push. If, let's say I wanted these faces in here to have the same color as this piece out here, what I would do is I would actually color it the same color like this, push it, and then give this face in here a new color, because it's easier to color one face than 4 different faces. If I want to choose a color or texture, in this case, from my model, but I don't want to find it in the menu out here, you can use this pipette or sample paint tool here. Click on that and then just click on the face with the texture you want. When you click, you'll see it pops up out here. This big window here with the texture is the texture you're using right now. So just keep an eye on this one when you're painting. If you want to make a customized texture, you can go out to this Create Material tab here, and you will see this window. What I can do now is I can press on this folder here, and then you just find your download destination of your texture. I have downloaded a brick texture from Ambient CG, which is a great website for free textures. I'll put a link to that website in the description. You can see I have this color texture of the brick here. I also have many other textures, but these are for rendering engines such as Enscape or Twinmotion. I'm gonna press open, and now what I can do is up here I can change the name of the material. I'll call this one brick. Down here you can apply a color to it, and if you want to color the whole texture, you can press this colorize here and it will apply a color to the texture. I don't want to apply a color to this texture, so I'm just gonna press on this button here, reset color, and it's gonna reset to your normal texture. Down here in the bottom, you have the size of the texture. The texture I've downloaded is a square texture, so I want the aspect ratio between the texture to be 1:1, and that's the 100 to 100 millimeters. And you can see there is this log/unlog aspect ratio. So right now, if I change this to 200, it's gonna change the other one to 200. But if I want to stretch the texture in one direction, I can unlink it, and I can choose 400 here, for instance. And I can link it again, and it will change according to this aspect ratio. But as I mentioned, it's a square texture, and I'm gonna leave it 100 to 100. Last but not least, you have the opacity, where you can choose how see-through your material is. This is mostly used for see-through materials such as glass. So I'm gonna leave this on 100 because you cannot see through brick, or in this case, not this brick. Then you press OK, and you're gonna see that the brick pops up out here. And SketchUp is not gonna put the material in any of these folders down here. It's gonna put it in the in model category. So you can find it in here. You can see I have the brick texture here. And what I can do now is I can apply it to a face. And now you might be thinking that this doesn't look right. And that's because if we zoom in, you can see that the texture is really, really small. And what you can do about this is you, out here in the materials section here, you can go to the edit mode here, and you will see this menu that you saw before. And down here, I can change the size of the texture. So let's try and put this to 1000. Like this. You can see now the texture becomes bigger. So if I change this to 4000, now it looks more right. So that's how you can change the size of the material. And if you want to change it in another way, if you press the face where the texture is applied to, actually let me just try and color one more side. If you press it, so it's highlighted, and you right click, you'll see this texture option here where you can choose position. When you choose that, you actually get the option to do some different things to your texture. You can either like distort it in different ways, you can rotate it, and you can move it around. I usually use this one for either rotating my material or scaling it, because in this rotate tab here also lets you kind of scale your texture. So that's also an easy way to get the right dimensions of your texture according to your model. So it kind of looks right and it's prepped for, let's say, rendering. And yeah, you can do this for the different faces. Let's try and rotate this. When you're done modifying your texture, you just press outside here, and you can see it has applied the modification to the texture. So that's actually how easy that is. So for some people, when they open up SketchUp, they actually can't see their texture when it's applied. And there can be two reasons for this. One thing is the styles section out here. Depending on which style you work in, you might not be able to see your texture. Let's, for instance, take this hidden line style. Here you can't see any of the textures. So for having a look on your texture, I usually use this architectural design style that will showcase your textures. Another reason is if you go to the view section up here and choose toolbars, you might not have this styles tool opened. I have it applied up here, and it's this one up here, and this one has some different viewing options. So for instance, it has this see-through option, it has this hidden line option, and it has these solid viewing options. So for instance, the hidden line, you can't see any textures. The shaded, you can see the color of the textures, but you can't see the brick texture itself. But this shaded with textures is the one used for viewing your textures. So make sure this one is turned on in order to see your texture. So yeah, that's a bit about the textures in SketchUp and how to apply them and modify them. I think the texturing is really easy in SketchUp, and I think that's why so many people use this software, because it's really easy to have a preview of your model before putting it into rendering engines. So if you learned something new and enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.